Hi, my name's Izzy. I'm the executive chef here at Tremont 647 in the South End of Boston. I'm going to prepare for you today veggie samosas. You're going to add a little oil to the pan. Now you can use a baking dish or an oven-ready pan to do this. Season with just a little bit of salt. We're also going to add our sweet potatoes. Gently toss, and we're going to put it in the oven, 325 for about 30 minutes or until they're tender. So now I'm going to take my whole spices and toast them. When you toast them, you get a lot of aromatic flavor out of them that you wouldn't normally get if you just took them out of your cupboard. So I have whole cumin and whole coriander. With the toasting process, it only takes about a minute or so. You really want to use your nose at this step in the recipe. When you can smell them start to be aromatic, that means they're pretty much done. Once again, there's no oil in this pan. You just want a dry toast to really get that flavor out. So I'm going to grind about half of these because the other half is going to be used in the recipe. We want some whole for texture and variance in the recipe. So I basically just pulse it. It doesn't have to be super fine. Great. Now we're going to take our remaining whole spices and we're going to sort of sweat them out in a little bit of butter. Once again, the flavor should be very aromatic and floral. It's going to give our samosas a really nice, spicy sort of feel. Okay, we're going to set that aside. Now in a separate pan, we're going to take a little bit of blended oil or olive oil. We're going to add our onions. Our chopped garlic. Our ginger. And you always want to add a little salt and pepper when you're sweating vegetables. This actually helps to release the natural sugars. We're going to add a little of that butter too, so they gently sweat. We want them to get tender. It's going to be about 6 minutes. So at this point, we're going to add our peas and our cauliflower to our sweated onions, ginger, and garlic. We're also going to add our curry powder, some more salt and pepper, our whole spices that we've had toasting in the butter. Once again, that's going to give it a nice little burst crunch flavor. We're also going to add our ground cumin and coriander. We're going to let this cook for another 2 or 3 minutes. And then we're going to place it in a mixing bowl. Really, really aromatic, beautiful flavors. These are going to make lovely vegetable samosas. At this point, we're adding our roasted sweet potato and roasted potato to the mix. We're also going to add our cilantro. The reason we don't add the fresh herbs earlier is because we don't want them to wilt. We want them to have a really nice fresh flavor. So as you can see, it's really beautiful. And you can always change the vegetables up depending on what you have. This is a very easy recipe. The base being potatoes and sweet potatoes. I like the cauliflower and the peas though because I think it's a little more traditional. Okay, at this point, of course, we want to taste. Right on. So now we're going to form our dough. I really love this recipe because the dough is super simple. So if you're a little afraid of baking or making doughs, this is a great recipe to follow. It's basically just all-purpose flour, and blended oil. We want to add the oil sort of slowly, almost like making biscuits. You want sort of pea-sized chunks of oil that's incorporated with the flour. One of the other reasons I love this recipe because it's really great to make with kids or other people in your household. And since food is a way of bringing people together, I think that the samosas do a great job of that. So if you can see, I'm sort of rolling the dough around in my hands. Once again, just to incorporate all of the fat or oil into the flour evenly. So at this point, you can see that the dough is all the way incorporated with our fat. We have some larger chunks. We want to be careful not to overwork it either, so this is just about right. I'm going to make sort of a little well in the center. And the other key step to this recipe is to make sure your water is very hot. It's going to help to really mix with the fat so that everything comes together. So I'm going to add a little bit, mix it around. You don't want the texture to be too wet or too dry. And I also had a little extra water in my cup just in case the dough varies, but you should definitely follow the recipe. I would just add it slowly until the dough comes together. So that's pretty much the consistency that we're looking for. Again, it's similar to making biscuits, sort of that consistency. So I'm going to put this aside, and next I'm going to show you how to roll them. I'm going to enlist the help of one of my friends. He's a Tibetan chef, and this recipe actually originates from his country. So this is Tsering. He's a very wise Tibetan chef that I learned how to make this recipe from. And now we're going to show you how to roll out the dough. So basically you're going to take your dough ball and take off about a 6-ounce piece. And you can go ahead and take all the balls out first if you want to do that, or you can do them one at a time. Now we're going to dust just a little bit with flour so that our dough doesn't stick. And then we're going to roll it out. Now don't get discouraged. It does take a little practice. Again, this recipe is a lot of fun with kids. Tsering has been doing this for a really long time, so he makes it look really easy, but it actually is pretty easy. You're going to cut that dough ball right in half. And you see the thickness is almost like that of pizza dough before you put toppings on. I want to say maybe 1/4 inch. You're going to brush one side of the dough with just a little bit of water, and then we're actually going to stuff them by folding one side over until it's cone shaped. It almost looks like the cap of an iris flower. This way you can hold it in your hands. And you're going to put about, what, 2 tablespoons? I want to say that's actually about 2½ teaspoons. And then we're going to crimp the top shut. You shouldn't need water for this step, but if you do, you can use just the brush to brush on a little bit more. And that's it. We formed our first samosa. So we're going to get ready to fry our samosas. Obviously, if you've been doing this recipe with young children, you're going to want to keep them away from this step because the oil is very hot. In my pot, I have about 6 cups of light oil. We're going to heat that to roughly 350 degrees. You're going to want to have a slotted spoon handy as well. Once again, be very careful of the hot oil. You're going to see there, if your oil is hot enough, it's going to start bubbling right away. So at this point, you want to sort of gently stir them around in the oil. You want to make sure that they're not sticking at the bottom and that they're getting evenly coated. Once again, being very careful of the hot fat. We're going to fry them for about 3 to 4 minutes. And we basically just want a light, crispy, golden crust on the outside and to make sure that our filling is hot on the inside, which will take about 3 to 4 minutes at 350 degrees. Once the samosas are ready, I like to line a plate with a paper towel or linen towel just to absorb some of the excess grease. These are looking great. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're looking for. Nice golden crispy brown. Go ahead and put those right on our towel. And there we go. I like to serve them with a little good yogurt, either Greek or Mediterranean style. I go for the whole fat stuff. I think it has a little more flavor. And I like to serve these samosas with my rhubarb chutney because I think those flavors go really well together. And there we have it, beautiful samosas.